Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the TP InfoTech Day 2022 webinar. My name is Joshua Koh from the Diploma in Big Data and Analytics, and I will be your MC for today. We have a series of talks planned for this webinar, and we hope you'll find them useful and informative. I would first like to invite Mr. Ryan Lim, Assistant Director of the School of Informatics and IT, to address us. Mr. Lim, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to TP InfoTech Day 2022. With COVID, we have experienced tremendous change in our daily life in the way that we work, play, and interact with one another. With this in mind, we have come up with a theme for today, which is driving transformation with IT. Some of you might have actually seen some of the projects that were done by our students and staff with partners like yourself. This is actually to show people that with IT, we can really resolve some of the issues and some of the challenges that we face on our daily lives. With this, I would like to invite you to actually listen to some of our speakers who will be speaking on areas in AI and analytics, cybersecurity, business transformation, as well as immersive media. Thank you everyone for joining us today. And I'd like to wish you a very, very interesting and enriching conference with us today. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Lim. Ladies and gentlemen, our keynote speaker today is Mr. Ilwin Plaugasto, Vice President, SCS Business Analytics Chapter, Managing Director, Accenture Strategy and Consulting. Based in Singapore, Mr. Plaugasto has 20 years of experience shaping and running large-scale business, digital, and IT programs. He has worked in a variety of industry verticals, such as airport, insurance, bank, retail, and telco, across the globe in places such as Singapore, Australia, Malaysia, France, and the United Kingdom, and is very well connected to the ecosystem. Today, he will be sharing with us about the need for continuous transformation. Please welcome Mr. Plaugasto.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm very excited to be here today at the Temasek Polytechnic InfoTech Day 2022. It's a very exciting event for the industry. I would prefer to be with you face-to-face, but with the current restriction, we had to switch to a virtual session instead. I've got a very exciting, very interesting topic to share with you today, very close to my heart, very relevant to any student, to any staff, to any professional in the industry, which is digital transformation and the need for continuous transformation. If you don't mind, I will quickly introduce myself. My name is Ilwin Plaugasto. I am Managing Director at Accenture Strategy and Consulting in Singapore. And my focus is to design and deliver big, complex, and innovative programs using data, digital, analytics, and AI for the largest organizations in Singapore. Actually, transformation used to be an exception. I remember when I started my career, I was called by a client who had to open a new market, open a new business. And for them, it was a huge change. It was an event. These days are very different. Transformation is a constant. It is happening every year, every quarter, every month, every day for our clients. Why? Because the world is changing at a very fast pace. Customer expectations are evolving. Regulations are getting updated. Social and sustainability aspects are taking more and more into account. Competition is coming from other industries, from startups, for instance. We had a pandemic for the past 2 years. So any organization in any industry needs to transform, needs to reinvent itself at a much faster pace than before. The challenge for the organizations is that transformation. No, sorry, I redo, excuse me. So slide 4, I redo. Transformation is required to survive. If you do not transform, you will be out of business very quickly. Actually, just look at the facts. If you look at the Fortune 500 companies in 1995, only 12% of them are still in the market in 2016. And 2016 was just before the digital revolution. So imagine by 2034, so in less than 15 years, 50% of the Fortune 500 will be replaced by new firms. And when you look at the largest market cap in the Nasdaq or in the Dow Jones, you can see that 9 out of the top 10 largest market cap companies did not exist 10 or 15 years ago. So if you do not transform, you will not be there in 10 years or even 5 years. And every company wants to avoid what we call the Nokia moment. I think we all remember Nokia, at least the older generation. Nokia, 10 years ago, was the #1 company globally for mobile phone. But they got disrupted by BlackBerry, by Apple, and by other companies. And Nokia is not here anymore. So think about it. 10 years ago, there was a global leader, and now they're out of the market. So if you do not transform, you will not survive. But what do we mean with digital transformation? What does it mean? Actually, the way I see it, and the way most people see it in the industry, is that physical world and digital world needs to grow together. So what is a physical world? The physical world, to keep it simple, is a brick and mortar industries. So all the organizations which are producing goods, products. The digital world are the digital native companies using data, digital experience, AI as a business model. So digital native are the Amazon, the Netflix, the Spotify. And we do not see these two worlds growing apart. We don't think that there will be in one side the digital world and in the other side the physical world. Not at all. They're going to merge together and they're going to grow together. And I'm going to give you 2 examples. If you look at physical world, one of the best examples is car manufacturers, or the Toyota, the Nissan, the Ford, the Jeep, very brick and mortar companies. And we all know that now they are embarking digital data and AI in their own device, in their own cars. In the other side was the digital world. You got all the digital native companies. Look at Amazon. Amazon is starting to open some physical shops in the US. And this will come to Singapore shortly. So we can see these 2 worlds merging together, growing together, physical world and digital world. And what do we mean by digital transformation? Is all these physical companies, these traditional brick and mortar companies, embracing digital technologies to grow and to transform. That's digital transformation. The bad news is that transformation is hard. is difficult. It's not easy at all, for many reasons. First one is lack of talent. To transform, you need deep skills in data science, in UX UI, in IoT. You need to masterize the cloud. You need to know blockchain. So you need people with the right skills. You need to change the way you work. You need to be more agile. Speed is important. The way you organize your team will be different. I think you will go away from the traditional business versus IT silos. You need to adopt a product-based organization. The relationship with the customer is different. In the past, the focus was on designing and delivering the best product at the right cost, with the right level of quality. Today, it's all about customer obsession. Your company will need to be customer obsessed. And then technology. There are too many technologies in the market, too many technologies in your organizations. You will have to make some choice. Do you want to stay on-prem, or do you want to embrace the cloud? Do you want to use platform as a service or software as a service? Or do you want to leverage a cloud native software stack? There are many, many questions around technology. It's hard. Transformation needs the hands. It needs the heart. It needs the legs. It's a complete discipline, end to end. So I guess the question is, how does it all fit together? When we talk about digital transformation, we can be overwhelmed by the new skills we need. Big data, blockchain, design thinking, RPA, product owner, agile coach, customer centricity, platform as a service. Wow, very, very overwhelming. And it's very easy to get confused. And I think organizations need to be able to find the glue, to make it work together. And there are plenty of great examples here in Singapore. And I want to share one example from a local organization, Changi Airport, the best airport in the world. And I'm going to show a video now to explain to you how Changi is leveraging all these skills to drive digital transformation at speed and at scale.
Customer obsessed.
High-tech,
Strategic.
Collaborative,
continuous learning.
Transformational.
fail fast, learn fast.
Fun.
Welcome to DIVA. DIVA stands for Digital, Innovation, Venture and Analytics. DIVA is the innovation factory we have started with our client, Changi Airport in Singapore.
We partnered with Accenture to launch DIVA, a digital transformation program. This is a very strategic initiative for Changi Airport Group. In DIVA, we are hoping to inject new ways of working, as well as foster a culture of experimentation, innovation and collaboration.
We want to make an impact, not just for the airport, but for the customers and basically the entire ecosystem. To do that, we don't just create minimum viable products that meet functional needs, we create minimum lovable products that excite customers. We are inspired by the startup culture and we iterate quickly. We run experiments to build, measure and learn from feedback.
The partnership with Accenture is a good example of the way we do things innovatively in Changi and in Singapore. In DIVA, we strive to change the way we work, the way we think, and the way we serve our customers.
At DIVA, we are customer obsessed. We conduct lots of interviews and develop customer journeys for different personas. We always test our prototypes with customers on the ground to gather feedback right away. By understanding what each user is doing, thinking, and feeling at different touchpoints, we're able to enhance the customer experience.
Everything we do is data-driven, insights-led, and AI-powered. At Diva, we apply the latest artificial intelligence techniques such as machine learning and deep learning to design and launch smart products. For instance, we analyze huge amounts of data collected by different sensors and IoT platforms at the airport to generate actionable and real-time insights.
As an agile coach, my role is to ensure that our team turns new ideas into products at the right speed. We apply new ways of working, coming from leading digital agencies and startups. For example, we use rapid prototyping techniques to deliver exciting new products to the customers in days or weeks.
To provide speed and agility, we need to rely on the right underlying technology platforms. New technology services, such as microservices, cloud, security, containerization, or DevSecOps, set the foundation for our innovation factory.
We have a people-first culture here in Diva, where people are our greatest assets. This allows us to work and create at our very best. We want our team to look forward to coming here every day.
We value an environment where ideas are shared freely and where relationships are built by having fun at work.
And there is a new change in transformation. It's AI, artificial intelligence. In the old days, to grow was quite simple. You had to get the right capital, right labor, right productivity. Now AI is going to change everything. It's going to change the way we work. It's going to change the way we engage with the customer. It's going to change the way we organize the companies. It's going to change the way we work on a day-to-day basis. And I talk a lot today about the impact of digital and AI to the clients, to the organizations, but I want to emphasize the impact of AI and digital transformation on the society. And I want to show a very interesting video about AI being used to make the world a better place.
Coral reefs contain one of the most diverse ecosystems on the planet. They also perform a wide variety of functions that are critical to the well-being of marine life, people, and even the economy. Sadly, coral reefs are now endangered due to destructive fishing methods, overfishing, bottom trawling, poor water quality, and even the effects of the coal industry. Working together as a collaborative team, engineers from Accenture, Intel, and Sulubai Environmental Foundation, along with other key technology and industry partners, have designed an innovative solution for recreating and restoring coral reefs to their former health and stability. By utilizing the latest mobile, digital, and deep learning technologies, together with rapid prototyping techniques, they've designed a cost-effective edge computing solution that observes, classifies, and measures marine life, while also monitoring the progress of coral reef restoration. The effort is called Project Coral. The AI is for the artificial intelligence used to capture and predict marine life data.
So this is my last slide, my summary slide. And I think the key message I want to tell you is that digital transformation is gold. This is where you can grow your business. This is how we can make the world a better place. We can change the society, the environment, as we have just seen with the video, with AI. And the key word I would like you to remember from this short presentation is value. It's all about value. You transform for the value. You need to be obsessed by value. No value, no transformation. And it's never too late to find the right business value in your business model. So look at digital, data, analytics, AI, blockchain, all the new technologies, all the new methodologies to find the right value for your company. Thank you very much. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you, Mr. Plaugasto. We will now view a project presentation by our graduating student, Lingesh, son of Ganesh, from the Diploma in Big Data and Analytics. He will share his project titled Detecting and Resolving Bias in Predictive Models.
With the heightened use of AI in almost every aspect of digitalization, it is easy to see the many potential benefits from AI, but little attention has been given to the potential issues that it has, namely inherent bias and discrimination. So how can we be sure that the AI that we have created is objective and free of inherent biases? Project HUD aims to solve this issue. It stands for human centricity, inclusivity, accountability, robustness, and transparency. Qualities that ensure objectivity in any AI modeling. But how much of these do we get currently? As more and more companies turn to AI and predictive modeling to assist with their operations, objectivity is increasingly an important element to ensure that these models do not disadvantage anyone. Biases in predictive modeling can come about due to an over-prioritizing of accuracy or due to an imbalanced data set, which can be caused by issues in data collection or historical biases within the region. These issues can affect everyone or any organization, regardless of their size. Project HUD addresses this issue by bringing fairness as a measure to the forefront, allowing users to know when bias is present, which will allow them to take steps to reduce it. This entire process will be done in a 3-step plan, which will be carried out seamlessly within SASVIA, as it encompasses all aspects of the analytics lifecycle. In step 1, after the data is processed and model pipelines have been created, we can introduce fairness matrices to give us a numerical understanding of the bias that is present within our model. On a scale of 0 to 1, a score of 0 to 0.3 indicates acceptable bias, while a score of 0.3 to 0.7 indicates moderate bias. Any score above 0.7 indicates that there is a heavy bias within our model. Once this bias has been identified, we can move on to step 2, where code blocks will be then inserted into the model pipeline in order to adjust thresholds until the bias detected is within an acceptable range. All of this will then be visualized in step 3, where dashboards will be created in SAS Visual Analytics to give us a more clear understanding of the entire process and allow us to compare the trade-offs between the two models. Now that we know about the project's flow, let's take a look at the process of using the various dashboard tabs. We begin the dashboard tabs and pop-ups that provide an insight into some potential issues with your dataset, such as any potential imbalances or existing bias. It also shows us a before and after for data preparation. Once that is done, the entire process will be run in SAS Model Studio, which gives us the best algorithm for our dataset. Once we have the predicted probabilities for our dataset, we can investigate the various thresholds to get a model with the highest accuracy. This will be used as a baseline for comparison for our final model, which will have both accuracy and fairness as a metric. In order to get that model, we can use code nodes to balance the thresholds for the protected classes, such that the chances of getting a positive outcome are similar, regardless of whether or not a person is within the privileged or unprivileged class. This will give us our final model, which reflects both accuracy and fairness. From here, we can investigate not just our key fairness matrices, but also view how our model fares against all available fairness matrices. We can also view the trade-offs that were made in regard to accuracy and the potential profits and losses. Project HUD can easily be integrated into existing modeling processes, and it can help users to deal with any unconscious bias that may be present in their model. Not only will this give potential customers a better experience, but it also let users be sure that they will not incur any penalties from regulatory authorities due to the bias in their datasets. While this project provides a good starting point for identifying and addressing biases in AI and predictive modeling, more can be done to improve upon it. This project only goes into one method of bias mitigation, and there are other methods which can also potentially be integrated into future versions. As software develops and becomes more capable, parts of this project can also be fully automated. Updates to the VIA software can also potentially simplify the process for future iterations. All in all, AI and predictive modeling is a double-edged sword. While it provides us with many benefits, it also has some downsides, such as inherent biases causing it to discriminate against some users. Project Heart allows users to deal with this by allowing them to easily identify and mitigate bias in a manner that can be easily integrated into existing modeling systems. With Project Heart, you can work with AI with peace of mind.
We will now have a project presentation by our graduating students. Muhammad Yusuf bin Adli Nazri, Lang Chen Yao Nigel, and Nathan Teo Jia Jun from the Diploma in Cybersecurity and Digital Forensics. Their project is titled Blockchain-Based Chain of Custody. And following that, we will have another project presentation by a graduating student, Li Jia Wen, from the Diploma in Financial Business Informatics. His project is titled Signature Forgery Detection Model.
Hi, my name is Nathan, and I will be sharing with you my group's project on blockchain-based chain of custody. First, allow me to explain the importance of the chain of custody. During the investigation of criminal cases, the evidence collected must be handled properly so that it can be used to support the case in court. When evidence is transferred from one person to another, there is a risk of the evidence being tainted or tampered with. So, the integrity of the evidence needs to be verified. This is through the chain of custody. What is the chain of custody? It's a record of the movement of the evidence. It tracks details like the person who has handled the evidence, the date and time of it was retrieved or transferred, as well as the purpose of the retrieval. This process usually involves the physical signing of forms to track the logging in and out process. However, anyone can easily manipulate such documents. This is where the blockchain comes in. Blockchain can store the information in such a way that makes it impossible to alter. Thus, we can preserve the integrity of the information. Our solution is a tamper-proof evidence management portal. This digital system records the details of anyone interacting with the evidence. It uses blockchain technology to verify the chain of custody by decentralizing the recorded data. We have also included many features that help to improve the overall quality and usability of the site. So, how does our blockchain chain of custody system work? Our portal uses a distributed node system and includes many features such as the delegated proof of stake mechanism, access controls, two-factor authentication, and an audit trail. Here we have proof of work for our blockchain. It ensures that every new block created is with integrity and is not undermined by any wrongdoings or errors. This function will check the hashes of the previous block and compare it to the current block. It will also check if the indexes are correct to make sure it hasn't been altered. Next, we look at the delegated proof of stake. Delegated proof of stakes makes use of the shareholders' votes to reach a consensus in a fair and democratic way. The hash values from all nodes will be obtained and put into an array. A function then checks the number of unique hash values. If you get 2 unique hash values, that means one of the nodes has been tampered with. If there's only 1 unique hash value, then all nodes agree and there is no tampering. The next feature in our solution is the ability to manage access controls. What is access controls and how does it work? Access controls is the limits on who or what can access the requested resources. Authentication and session management are some resources that are needed for access controls on online applications. It is important to set access controls accurately to protect the integrity of the evidence. Another feature we have included is two-factor authentication. Google Authenticator provides an added layer of protection as users will have to use their phones to log into the chain of custody portal. There will be a rolling block of code, meaning that the 2FA code will be constantly changing. This makes it difficult for hackers to hack into users' accounts. On top of that, there's a one-time password that's sent to the user's email. Once a valid email one-time password is entered, the user will not have to enter the one-time password from email again and will only need to enter the codes from Google Authenticator for later login attempts. For evidence to be admissible in the court of law, 2 things must be present: the chain of custody as well as the audit trail. For our audit trail part, we display the data from the blockchain in a graph to show the types of evidence currently in the system and the events that have occurred in the portal. For chain of custody, we'll record details about a transfer between 2 officers. The audit trail tracks the date, time, the name of the officers, as well as the type of activities and location. So, what are the key benefits of the blockchain chain of custody system? Firstly, we preserve the integrity of the evidence. This gives our solution credibility to be used in professional environments. Secondly, our solution makes the entire process transparent. This is because it shows all the details of the evidence, the personnel involved, as well as the activities performed relating to the evidence. Thirdly, our system includes many user-friendly features, such as advanced search functions, as well as easy report generation. Lastly, but most importantly, our use of a distributed node system makes it almost impossible to alter the data in the chain of custody. This will allow the evidence to be admissible in a court of law. This project can be enhanced with 3 improvements: a blockchain mechanism that can be included for the audit trail, automation that can be used to add evidence into the system, and finally, we can improve upon the advanced search features that were mentioned previously. To conclude, our blockchain chain of custody system is a tamper-proof solution that ensures the integrity of the evidence is preserved. Thank you.
Do you know that forged signatures do not only come in the form of someone falsely replicating another person's signature, but also refers to the digital creation of handwritten signatures? Computer-generated signatures can be difficult to differentiate due to the similarity in font type, like shown in the image above. Hi everyone, I'm Jiawen, a final year student pursuing the Diploma in Financial Business Informatics. Today, I will be sharing with you how the signature forgery detection model can help to detect forged signatures within documents efficiently and accurately. The rationale in creating a machine learning model to detect forged signatures was inspired by the Know Your Customer business process, which requires customers to upload their proof of identity documents for identity verification and authentication. The process covers increased incidences of fake identification documents with forged signatures, and this leads to higher probability of signature manipulation and document forgery. Thus, a signature forgery detection model is developed to help verify the authenticity of the signatures. This improves accuracy and speeds up the validation process of detecting signature manipulation within the documents, helping the company to combat fraud. Hence, I implemented the approach of training a binary classification model. This approach uses the deep learning technique to give a classification decision of the authenticity of the signatures within the POI documents. The key technologies used include the YOLO v5 repository, the Python programming language, and Jupyter Lab Notebook. The key functionalities of the model are: from the input of the identification document, the model will locate and extract the signatures from the POI documents. After locating and extracting the signature, the model will leverage the deep learning technique and gives a binary classification decision on the signature. The model then gives an output decision on the signature, predicting if the signature is authentic or forged. You must be keen to see how the solution works. I am happy to provide you a short demonstration. From the web page, the user first clicks on the Choose File button to select a signature image that he intends to verify. The image that the user selected will appear on the web page. The user then clicks on the Upload and Check button to send the image to the model. The model will proceed to analyze the authenticity of the signature and give an output decision on it. It will display its prediction on the signature with a real or fake label. What are the key benefits of implementing this solution? The first key benefit of the model is that it yields improved accuracy substantially as compared to the first baseline model. The model, with improved machine learning algorithms, reduces direct human intervention when making predictions on the signatures, hence eliminating human errors. The second benefit of the model is that it is cost-effective. By utilizing the model, it helps to automate repetitive tasks of identifying forged signatures. The automated process helps to deliver a swifter checking of the authenticity of the signatures, resulting in increased efficiency in flagging forged signatures more effectively. To further enhance the solution, we could further explore the following. Firstly, we could work on eliminating background texture of the signatures. With reduced noise around the signatures, I believe the accuracy will be further enhanced. Secondly, we could train a multilingual model that can detect character strokes of the signatures in other languages. This will help detect computer-generated signatures of other languages. Although the concept of the signature forgery detection model is simple, these detection efforts made by the model is able to catch a significant number of computer-generated signatures within the documents. With increased online scams, the implementation of the model will help the company save unnecessary losses and protect its reputation. With that, thank you for your attention.
Thank you, students. Ladies and gentlemen, I would now like to welcome our next speaker, Mr. Tew Ka Leong, Innovation Manager from Scrollers. Mr. Tew is currently managing the innovation pillar within the Operations Innovation team, established in 2017 as a driver to deliver RPA and intelligent automation for all business units within Scrollers. Today he'll be presenting his talk, titled, Does Innovation Require the Latest Technology? Please welcome Mr. Tew.
So, good afternoon. Thank you for this opportunity to share a bit of my own personal experience throughout my years of working experience from research to development to industry research to now driving innovation and really solutions adoption within students. So, first of all, let us review the two questions that we have in the session. First of all, I think previous session I hope to share with you is my interpretation of what is innovation, what is the role that it plays within the development. And as you have heard from speakers before me, there are so much development that are happening at such a rapid pace, whether it is AI, machine learning, platforms, local platforms, automation, that innovation always require us to do an adoption of innovation technology. So if you think of it, as we are speaking with students, I like to think of it as let's use a game to illustrate as an example of what we do. I am sure within the audience, many of you play mobile games, whether on gaming itself, whether it's on your mobile apps or on console, etc. And what you see here is a game called Japan. It's a game that I personally play myself as well. And if you use this as an example, if you were to search just on this game on Google itself, if you take a look at the Google images, you will find that not only are they the main games, there are an abundance of other information and details that has been released about the game. And as how does this relate to all the latest technology and things that we come across all this time is that so often all these, whether it's mobile games, applications, things like Instagram, Snapchat, they always have new releases and patches. And each time when there is a release of a patch, it symbolizes that something has changed. And what this relates to for us, if you are an invested gamer, someone that has invested and built on your time on the game as well, the number one question you have on your mind is, what is new? With each release and each new patch or features or add-ons and whatnot, if you are a person that is invested within that application, what you are trying to do is then find out what has been introduced. What is new here? What kind of changes has been introduced? Are they enabling new features? Are they enabling new functionalities? Are they removing certain elements away within the game? It could be due to balance, it could be due to user feedback, and it all relates to what has changed, what is new, how does it impact my experience, my usage within the application itself. So keep this in mind, this concept of what is new, because I'll keep coming back to this throughout the remainder of this session as well. So if you think about innovation by itself, so if you ask me, I see it largely into three areas. First of all is whereby we hear a lot about the research. We hear further of news reports, articles whereby researchers from the university, the research labs, the big players like the Google, the Microsoft, and Amazon, the ASAs within here in Singapore as well. They are team of an organization whereby they look at identifying and developing new algorithms, new ways at which the capabilities of computational power of technology is being enhanced. Second pillar or second area is actually in terms of technology, whereby, as you have heard, we have all these new developments driven by our software vendors, whether it's in areas of RPA, automated machine learning, local platforms, cloud providers, the PaaS, the SaaS, and whichever that's the next new shiny development paradigm that is coming along. All those are being developed by technology drivers and applications whereby their aim is to drive up this adoption of a particular platform or solution to address a particular trend that they see within the market itself. Lastly is, of course, the business processes. So perhaps onboarding, product pricing, they are foreign terms to you because Schroders, we are actually an asset management firm. We are within the financial services. But if you think about it for yourself, a very simple example is in the assessment and the marking process for your projects, for your papers, for your exams. It is not just a simple case of you writing, submitting it to the lecturers, they'll mark it through. There is actually an internal process at which guidelines need to be set in terms of what are the expectations for the answers per question. When all the exam papers are marked, are vetted, scores are inputted into a system, it has to be reviewed in terms to check on how is the distribution trend, how are the students performing, and that also, there are also needs for preparation for in terms of there's a need to review or there's a need to validate the why was a certain scores being assigned to a particular answer. And within each of these three pillars, in order to make the leap whereby trying to move from research into technology and whether is it from taking a technology and introducing it into a business process or using a business process to try to find the right technology or research, there exists a gap because the understanding and the premise, each of them has been set up is different, and the expertise of those that are within them are different because they do not typically business process folks or users. They are not very savvy, or they will have a certain there's a gap in terms of their understanding of what is new in research, what are the biggest trends and development. They will have a gap in terms of what's a low-code platform. Most of them will not be may have not have that exposure to it, and not all technology providers to a certain extent would understand the marketing process or the internal process of a business itself. So for them, it's always the case of what is new, what do you have, and how do you help out, and how do you work through. So rather than hearing me talk about my experience, I'd like to use an example whereby to show you in the innovation process, what is our focus, what are the steps that we take in order to understand when faced with something new, be it a new release, a new patch, how do we do it? And first of all, so this is a research article that is public. You might have seen it, you might have read it, but we use this as an example. Whereby, first of all, the first step of any work we do, if it's a research, you look up for what's the publication, the actual research publication. Typically, these are public, can be found. You just need to put in the effort to actually identify and download and read through it. If you're talking about technology stack, it's all the public information from the marketing team, from their flyers to a high-level description of what the software or solution is about. You can look through it. And once you have that, the next step, if you're dealing with research, is then whereby you take in the formula. These are actual formula from this research publication. But if you and the formulas are important because they help us understand the paradigm at which the algorithm works under. If we are dealing with technology, we will try to get our hands on the application itself because it will allow us to get the first touch and sense of the solution itself. And lastly, at the end of any research publication, you will always have the results. And these are actual results taken from the research paper whereby it is a comparative output of their algorithm performance against others. It's always asked, how do we, in research, it's always a comparison of what has been achieved previously, what have we achieved now, whether is it by the output or is it by the speed or accuracy, etc. And if it's a technology application, then we will want to see what does it produce. Even if it's a demo walkthrough of their standard use case, the outputs provide us with a first sense on the capabilities of the solution. But for true innovation, for true work, this is not where we start. So what we have done is that we need to introduce our own use case because we need to understand how this new feature or algorithm or process or application, how does it work with our use case. So for the algorithm that was shown earlier, we decided to use our own use case whereby we defined it to be Asian. We wanted to test it against a group photo, and it needs to be a new input. We shouldn't be using pre-canned solutions or pre-canned inputs because those are things that have been definitely tested and verified to be working. So what we have is first a passport photo or photos taken from a passport from the 1950s and a photo taken from a Singapore group trip that was taken for a bunch of kindergarten kids that was taken in the 1980s. And these two photos or these images was actually taken and sent into the algorithm for processing. So that's at the first level of the validation that we do. On the left is obviously the original photo, and on the right is actually the restorative aspect, the output that was produced by the algorithm itself. And what's more interesting is that the algorithm, so these outputs are actually automatically catered for by the source code, and they would actually perform restoration on the final output photo, on the group photo itself. So there was no need for us to actually identify and crop and restore the restored face back onto the photo itself. Now, whenever you see results that seems fantastic, then that's where you need to dig a bit deeper, and obviously that is what we did. When we dig a bit deeper, that's when we found that this is the same boy within the photo, but how come there was two different outputs within two variations in the outputs of this restoration itself? And through our own testing and confirmation, it's because it all depended on what was sent into the algorithm. The first photo on the left was sent in using a cropped image whereby only the family group photo was used as the input, whereas for the second photo, there was no zooming in into the photo itself. Now, you might be wondering the authenticity, or could this photo actually been an example that the AIA researchers, when they were working on it, they have seen it? Personally, I can give you a guarantee it's not, because this little boy that you see is actually my father, and this was a family passport that we found when we were once clearing the old house of all the items. But we found this old my grandparents and decades, including my father, in the 1980s when they were moving between Malacca and China. So this is an actual passport. We made a digital scan of it, and when faced with such an algorithm, these are the best examples you can use to test with as well. Now, we have seen the validation of the photos working well for pictures, but does it work well all the time? So what we see here, it looks perfect. With a head, you can see that this girl was very nicely restored. This one, you could see that even when there was a slight occlusion, there was some blockage, the image looks perfectly restored as well. So too is this boy with a hat. But are things always that perfect? I can almost guarantee you no. Because what's going to happen next is that we will start seeing that the examples whereby when it is when it's a side portrait, when the view is side view of the person, the restoration is actually no one would dare to say this is a good restoration. And as there is more occlusion, when there is more blockages, the fascinating thing is that the algorithm could actually, to some sense, accurately restore the facial features while keeping intact the color integrity. But from a human point of view, we know that this is not accurate. And for the same boy with the hat, when another photo was used for it, it's now being changed into a elderly gentleman while still wearing the same hat. And what's more, when the occlusion is further, we could see that the result starts deteriorating. And the same whereby when it's a side portrait with some weird coloration. But does all this means that the algorithm doesn't work? No, it does not. In fact, it is good that such use cases are found out when we are performing our validation. Because if we use back the example of the game, while you are playing the game within a competition mode or doing an actual challenge, you do not want any surprises or things to happen during the midst of it. All this should have been done up as part of your own prior research of reading on and experimenting on what is new with this latest release, what is new with this latest patch, and how does it work through. And in fact, why do I put a photo of myself here? Because this is a photo of me. This was a photo of myself in the 1980s on a kindergarten school trip to the Singapore Zoo. And by using my own use case and my examples, it also tells me that I can confidently tell you that this is not how I looked at that age, but my sense is that this is because of the images used by the researchers when they trained the model. If you think about it, there's a lot of images in the modern society, modern era, to provide training with AI data. But most of these data would be how current beautification tools work, or how current makeup is, how current features are being enhanced or being focused on, which is why personally to me, I see a sense of as a bit of like a modernization. My facial is too big. If I was this young in this thing. So when we think about all this, has been our focus. First of all, whenever when dealing with people, understand, have a better understanding what can how once that anger that users are popping it down. Will be able to enter. Third element. Because unless it is your own firm, even if it's your own firm or company, you wouldn't want to be constantly on the run to incorporate all the latest technology, because that's where you would then start building up your technical debt. You would have gaps within your technology. You would have the challenge of trying to maintain and integrate different technology sources, and not to mention there will always be licensing costs. And whenever you introduce a new tool, you would need to start training the users. And frankly, think about if, for example, so I heard about a local IHL, not TP, but I'll not mention, that for a time they required their students to clock in their hours on a particular platform of attending a class, etc. Imagine if that changes every 3 to 6 months or every year. All students need to be retrained and to understand how to use it. If you think on a business context, all your business users, you yourself needs to be retrained, or at least there is a learning curve to identify how do I use that as a solution itself. So using this, let's go back to our first original two questions. What is innovation? Personally, I see innovation as a case of there is always a need for changes to be made, whether it's in terms of whether is it due to availability of technology, availability of algorithms, development in technology or research or business requirements or whatnot. But whether does it need the latest technology, it very much also depends on your grasp and understanding of the platform of our technology. What your education here right now, what our education in universities and polytechnics is that it gives us a foundational technical understanding that when faced with new introductions, we should be able to have a sense of where is that heading, how well could it potentially work, and from there, we need to begin the process of understanding from what we have done, what you have seen earlier. We read up the public information, we try to get our hands on the application, we try to get used to their demo use case, and if possible, trying out our own use cases. If you use the game, so Tapan is a game whereby you build your own deck of cards for different capabilities and functions. Whenever a new set of deck is released or a patch is released or rebalancing is done, you need to ingest the information, understand what features has been added, what has changed, and think about what is your own playing style, how does it fit into my current deck, how does it then help me in my gameplay. It does not mean that the latest release doesn't mean that you need to incorporate all the latest cards. I doubt anyone does that, but the good players, the best players, they will make their adjustments based on the changing landscape, the changing environment, based on their grasp and understanding of the solution of the technology or the tech itself. With that, thank you. I will stop sharing because I can't see if there's any questions or anything from there. Yep. So I see that there's a question. So I'll read it out. So based on my experience, which machine learning technology will continue to drive the innovation in the next few years. So I think if we talk about, my work area comes in terms of more on implementation and having it as part of the business or as a solution. Where I see it is definitely in the area of NLP because while NLP has been very well researched, but the capability to really generate content specific to a financial industry, the interpretation and understanding of documents or information that's been sent around is non-trivial by itself, because it's actually a very complex problem because of the range and the wordings and even the reporting changes as terminologies, as concepts drift over time. I'm sure that ESG was never a mainstream topic 5 years ago. Even it was only within the last 2 to 3 years such terms and focus came into attention. So hope that answers the question. If not, please you can send it in. A second question: what do you think is the greatest barrier to innovation in organization? Wow. Well, it's always the okay. There are several factors, but okay. The most brutal answer or call to it, if you want to make it fun, I would say that it's people, because the biggest challenge is that users, they are all tied up in their daily, what we call BAU activities, business as usual activities, which means if we use the example of the game itself, when you're a gamer, when you have built up your deck, your first inclination is always to just keep repeating and keep using it, because you yourself know the amount of effort and time required to rebuild it and to reset it up. So whenever someone comes up to you, hey, I have something new, it's non-trivial. Or even when there's this famous picture of on LinkedIn, I'm sure some of you might have seen it, whereby someone a caveman trying to convince his clan members to use a round wheel instead of a square wheel, because the inertia to change is always there. Technology is always available. Whether does it meet your internal regulations, etc., that can be solved. Understanding of it just requires the right people with the kind of effort. Hope that answers it. And last question: which is more important to consider? Limitation of the technology, how to incorporate it in, or how to manage the variations in the company? I think if you ask me, it's about the limitation, because if you don't understand the limitation, you can't fully utilize the technology or the solution itself. To incorporate it, there are always ways and means. There's more than one way to do it. The handling of the variations, at least, is more of, and I would say it more depends on the developers having good documentation discipline. Yeah, that's how I would say it, because in actual fact, Excel is still one of the most popular applications or solutions out in the market. Most of us have not touched even more than 5 to 10% of what Excel can do. But to run a business on Excel is not, in general, not a very good idea. But there can be so much that can be done with it as well. So it's a case of you need to understand what you're running with. All right.
All right. Thank you very much for sharing, Mr. Tu.
Thank you.
Next, we'll have a project presentation by our graduating students. Project leader Tan Zhen Liang and his team, To Si Yao Geraldine, Wang Zijian, and Yo Zhong Lin, from the Diploma in Game Design and Development. Their project is titled Kidney Defense.
Diabetic neuropathy, diabetes-induced kidney failure, is a very painful condition. Did you know, as per the National Kidney Foundation's report, Singapore ranks top in the world for diabetic neuropathy, with 2 in 3 new cases of kidney failure being attributed to it? The key to such health challenges is early preventative lifestyle awareness. Hi, I'm Zijian, from the Diploma in Game Design and Development. Our project precisely focuses on such early intervention. The project is called Kidney Defense. It's a real-time strategy game meant to encourage everyone to exercise more and eat healthily. It addresses the serious concerns of the rising trend of younger people getting kidney disease. What makes our project unique, unlike conventional approaches, this game educates people through a fun, engaging approach. that also gets them to reflect on their own lifestyle and dietary choices. Our project aims to raise awareness of kidney disease and the harmful effects of overeating unhealthy food. Prevention is better than cure. This project has many key features. Firstly, it is a web-based game, which makes it accessible to everyone. Secondly, it is easy to understand and to learn the game mechanics. Lastly, there's an endless game mode which provides replayability to the game. Key technologies that we have used to create these games are Unity Game Engine and GitHub. Now, let me show you a demo of the game. This is the main menu. Here, there are two game modes for you to choose: Level and Endless. In Level mode, there are 3 levels, and in Endless mode, you can play against an endless wave of enemies representing unhealthy food choices that can cause diabetes-induced kidney failure. Finally, in the shop, you can increase your chances of winning by purchasing items. Here in the level, there is a tutorial that teaches you how to play the game. As you can see, there are enemies that look like unhealthy foods, and it's your job to defend your kidneys by placing exercising units onto the grids to combat such enemies. Now, you might be wondering, how is this more effective at raising awareness compared to other forms of media? Well, Kidney Defense, being a game, will be more experimental and iterative at engaging the audience. People will learn how sports can help prevent kidney disease, and this will encourage them to engage in an active lifestyle through engagement in sports and consumption of a healthy diet. Some potential enhancements that can be made are by adding more levels and different enemies to enhance the gameplay. In conclusion, Kidney Defense aims to raise the awareness about the importance of exercising regularly and eating healthily to prevent kidney disease. Play Kidney Defense. Your kidneys will thank you.
Alright, thank you Zhen Liang and team. Ladies and gentlemen, I would now like to welcome our final speaker, Ms. Zhang Jiazheng. Ms. Zhang is a machine learning engineer from PayPal. She joined PayPal Singapore's R&D team as a machine learning engineer in 2021 and now mainly focuses on computer vision related algorithms and software engineering. Today, she'll be sharing with us the opportunities and challenges AI has brought to us and how PayPal builds AI capabilities to empower innovation and enhance different products. Please welcome Ms. Zhang.
So, hello everyone. My name is Jiazheng, and I am a machine learning engineer in PayPal Singapore Innovation Lab R&D team. I'm very glad to meet all of you here today, and I hope everyone is staying safe during this very special period. And before I go into the details, I want to do a quick introduction for our team. I am from PayPal Singapore Innovation Lab R&D team, and our team was established in late 2016. We build advanced technology capabilities for PayPal and the ecosystem through nurturing fintech research talent and developing a strong intellectual property portfolio. And the below chart shows our key areas of focus. Machine learning and deep learning are, of course, the two main focus. And many of you might be wondering what is the difference or what is the relationship between machine learning and deep learning. So machine learning is a broader concept. It refers to obtaining the ability to learn without explicit programming. For example, linear regression is a kind of machine learning. And whereas deep learning is a subfield of machine learning, it refers to specifically learning based on deep neural networks. And machine learning and deep learning are our methodologies to solve different problems in different areas. And we apply these methodologies to solve the problem in natural language processing, in short, NLP, computer vision, in short, CV, graph mining, and social mining fields. And here is the agenda for my sharing today. First, I will talk about how AI helps in PayPal context. And secondly, I will share a case study in PayPal, which is related to document forgery detection. And lastly, we will have a short Q&A session. If you have any questions relating to the content of PayPal, just don't hesitate to ask your questions in the chat, and I will answer that during our Q&A session. And now, let's go into the question of how AI helps in PayPal. As all of us know, the field of AI is developing very fast in the recent years, and I'm sure all of us are very familiar with AI applications because they are literally everywhere in our daily life now. For example, you have your smartphone assistant Siri or Google. They can understand your instructions and take actions based on what you told them. But how AI helps in PayPal and in fintech industry might not be an obvious answer. Some of you might be wondering, PayPal is a payment platform, and how can AI play a role in such payment process? Actually, PayPal does not only support payment at the moment when transaction is happening. Before and after the transaction, there are a lot of many aspects needs to be taken care of. A very important application of AI is in the field of customer service. So imagine yourself, you want to get a refund from PayPal, but you don't really know what to do it. So you find the customer service chat for help. Now, instead of queuing for a long time to talk to the human agent, AI applications can help you respond immediately. So after you type the questions about refund, the AI system can perform intent prediction based on your message to understand your purpose of chatting to the agent. And after that, the AI system can actually perform a FAQ search and retrieve the relevant FAQ information regarding refund, and you might be able to find your answers there. And furthermore, we can also build chatbot using AI, and the system would be able to talk to you just like a human agent. All of these applications dramatically increase the customer service efficiency and saves manpower. And these are already happening in PayPal's customer service ecosystem. Another very important field of AI application in PayPal is in compliance. Many of you may not be familiar with this term. It basically means ensuring customer actions are adhering to any relevant laws, regulations, standards, or ethics. This is also the main area that our teams focus. And under the compliance domain, there are a lot of interesting use cases, and I will be sharing 3 of them, which our team is working on. The first one is fraud detection, which is very, very critical. So we need to ensure that the transactions are legal and to prevent any potential losses to protect our customers. On top of some traditional rule-based methods in our team, we use graph-related technologies to do fraud detection. We model each transaction entity, such as the consumer and the merchant, as a graph node, and each transaction as a graph edge. And in this manner, we could construct a transaction graph and do anomaly detection using graph convolutional neural network. And this is not only applied to the normal monetary transactions, and it also applies to cryptocurrency transactions. As all of you know, blockchain technology is becoming more and more popular today, and it is also important to look ahead and also important to stop transactions which do not adhere to the laws. Another very important AI use case under compliance would be content moderation. So all of you should be very familiar with this. So when you post on Instagram or Facebook, if you see something bad, your post will be blocked. And in PayPal context, it is the similar. So PayPal acquired the P2P payment platform Venmo, and when we need to make sure all text, images, and video exchanged among our users are legal and following policy and regulations in different regions. And another use case of content moderation is in customer service area. So we need to make sure the user does not say offensive words to our agents to protect them. For text moderation, we basically need to understand the question that whether this message is offensive, hate, or violence related. So to do this, we utilize NLP techniques. keyword screening is a very straightforward method. So certain keywords are definitely not allowed and considered offensive. So we just block these keywords no matter where they appear and how they appear. However, only doing keyword screening is not enough because sometimes there are not root words in a sentence, but the sentence itself is still offensive. So to solve this, we use sentence-level understanding techniques such as sentiment analysis, text classification, etc. Similar for image and video, we will need to understand whether the image or video contains weapon or drug or hate or violence-related things. And to do this, CV-related techniques are used. We use both object detection and image classification to do the moderation. Object detection is more suitable to detect certain banned items, such as weapon and drugs. And image classification is used when we are interested in the overall vibe, such as violence. The last use case I will talk about is relating to identity verification. And in PayPal, we require the user to upload their proof of identity document for verification under many scenarios, such as if you want to increase your transaction limit. And the process is not simple, and AI would be very useful in different stages. So firstly, we need to check whether the document image has good quality. Otherwise, we cannot really see the text and we cannot really see the information on the document. For this one, we do blur detection and partial document detection to make sure the document is of good quality and we can actually see the information on the document clearly. And secondly, we would like to ask, is this document an acceptable type? So passport, ID are of course acceptable. But if you upload, say, a random gym card, or for example, your student card, your company badge, that is definitely not allowed, even though it contains some of your information. And in this stage, we could do document type classification and reject those with an invalid type. And next, we will check whether this document is authentic. Some people use PayPal to do some illegal transaction, and some people use it for money laundering purposes. And if the system asks them to verify themselves, they would just upload a fake document. And it is very important to catch these bad guys to ensure the transactions are compliant to the laws and to save any potential losses. And for this purpose, we do forgery detection, which I will talk about in the case study later. And next, we will check, is this document authentic? And lastly, we would like to know, is this document from the user himself or herself? For this purpose, we do document information extraction and compare the results we get to the account information. If these two sets of information do not match each other, then the verification will fail. We also do liveness check. We ask the user to move his body or her body to make sure it's actually a live person instead of a photo. And these are some AI applications we are working on. And next, I will have a closer look at one of the use cases, which is document forgery detection. As I have explained earlier, there are many scenarios where the user needs to upload his proof of identity document for verification. And if the document is a fake one, the user will be blocked. We want to automate the verification process as much as we can to improve the operation efficiency. And that's why AI technologies are used to help with the forgery detection process. Before we think of the solutions, we should always analyze the problem thoroughly. From our history data, we observed that forgery documents come in many forms. One of the common ones is text information modification. The user may just find a photo of someone else's and modify the information to its own. For example, he or she can change the name, and even change the portrait to a different one. And here is a real example of the text modification. At first glance, the photo looks legit, but if you look at it clearly, at the surname, given name, and date of birth, you can see that these fields are actually modified. Another very common form of forgery is templated image. Now, instead of finding a real photo and modify it, the user will just use a Photoshop template. I have masked the person's personal information for privacy purposes, but you can still see in this example, the ID card itself is not a photo image, but a computer-generated image. And all the information in this template can be modified very easily. You can type whatever name you want, whatever date of birth you want, and use anyone's photo and generate the signature. And for these different types of forgery types, we actually came up with different detection methods. For text modification, we utilize error level analysis, which also known as ELA feature, to detect such kind of forgery. So what is ELA feature? The concept might be abstract to understand, but if we look at the examples, it will be much clearer. So as we can see, this is an authentic document and it's ELA featured. In the ELA feature, we can only see some shadow signs. However, for a forged document like this, some text information is modified. We can clearly see that the ELA feature is very different from the authentic one. For example, at the date of birth area, you can see a bright block. It is even brighter compared to other places within the same image. And back to the concept of ELA, it is actually a method of identifying areas within an image that at different compression levels. So if you put a sticker on an image, the compression level is very likely to be different. And in such scenarios, the ELA feature is a very useful and efficient sign to detect such forgery document. However, only obtaining the ELA feature is not the end. As humans, we can easily know whether this image is forged by looking at the ELA feature. However, for the machine, if you just give it the ELA feature map, it cannot know whether this image is forged. So after we obtaining the ELA feature, we actually attached a binary classifier after the ELA feature. And the classifier will predict the final result and give a confidence score. And with this, the prediction pipeline for handling text modification is completed. For the case of templated image, it is also very interesting because we can observe different forgery signs from the forged image. So the first forgery sign we can observe is abnormal metadata. So metadata, as the name suggests, documents all the information of the image other than the pixel itself, such as image sizes, your camera models, GPS information, creation date, and opening date, etc. If a person produces a forged document, the metadata is highly likely to be changed. A very straightforward sign is that if you use Photoshop to edit the image, we can see from the metadata. And it is probably a strong indicator for the fake document. However, we cannot only rely on this field. We still need to look at the holistic view. So we use a machine learning model called XGBoost to look at all the metadata. So XGBoost is a traditional machine learning model. For simplicity, you can think of it as an ensembled decision tree. It is proven to be efficient and effective for classification problem. And from our experiment, the model gives really good results. The prediction pipeline is similar as ELA model. So after the metadata is extracted, we first need to vectorize it. So the metadata becomes machine-readable arrays instead of plain text. The vector is then fed to the XGBoost model, and the XGBoost model will predict the final forgery detection result. Another very interesting sign is computer-generated signature. For a templated image, the signatures on the document are mostly computer-generated instead of written by human. This is another signal that we can use to detect forged document. We can see the two computer-generated signature examples here. The second one is clearer. If you look at the letter N and the letter L, they are exactly the same, which cannot be the case in written fonts. Observing this, we developed an object detection model to do computer-generated signature detection. The project is done by our intern Jiawen. She is also a student in TP, and the project is selected in the presentation in the previous sections. If you have more questions or if you want to know more details about this project, you can find Jiawen's project for more details. And the last forgery sign I'll talk about is composed background. For an authentic document, all parts of the image should come from the same image sources, such as one photo taking procedure or one scanning procedure. However, in this forged example, we can see that the ID card portion and the background portion are not come from the same image source. And this implies that the document image is forged. In computer vision field, this type of forgery is called splicing. To detect such kind of forgery, we construct a deep neural network and use deep learning to train the model. Convolutional neural network is the backbone of our model, and we also apply attention techniques to improve the model performance. As you can see, for different types of forgery, we use different techniques to detect it. And these methods are a combination of traditional machine learning and deep learning. We ensemble all of the model to give the final prediction result. And that is all I want to share about the document forgery project. Other than the examples I have given, there are actually a lot more interesting use cases in AI in PayPal. And so far, the applications we have built have made great impact to our company and also to the users. We are also continuing to explore how AI can bring more values to PayPal and to our customers. It is still an exciting and interesting topic. As you know, the AI field is growing really fast. Every year, there will be different new technologies that come up, which could be helpful in the industry. And I hope from the sharing, you have got some ideas of how AI helps, how AI plays an important role in PayPal. And if you are interested in AI applications, and if you are passionate about AI technologies, my suggestion to all of you would be just to go for it. And here comes to an end of my sharing. If you have any questions, I will be very happy to take that.
All right, thank you, Ms. Zhang. Let's see if there are any questions from the audience. Okay, all right, we have a question from the audience. With the development of e-payments and digital currencies, where do you see PayPal in 10 years' time? Over to Ms. Zhang.
Okay, thanks for the question. So I think firstly, as the largest payment platform in the world nowadays, our first priority is to continue support all the transactions. So I think despite the digital currencies is developing very fast, our priorities is still make our transactions reliable and make our platform reliable so people can continue to trust our platform and use our platform. And regarding digital currencies, as I have mentioned in my presentations, our team is also looking at some research areas in cryptocurrencies. So in the future, so it is very important to look ahead, right? So for example, the current research we have done, the fraud detection in cryptocurrency area. So we want to make sure all this transaction happening in PayPal is reliable and people will continue to trust us and use us as a payment platform. Hope that answers your question.
Yes, it does. Okay. We have another question from the audience. You mentioned that different models are selected to solve different problems in document forgery detection. How do you select appropriate models for the different problems?
Okay, thanks for the questions. So I think there are a few aspects to how to select the models, right? So firstly, you should consider which form your data is in. So whether your data is image or whether your data is text, you will be selected very different models. So if your data is image, the convolutional neural network might be more suitable. And if your data is text, then recurrent neural network or transformer-based models might be more suitable. And even if the data is the same, you still need to look at which problem you are solving. So for example, in computer vision field, the image classification, object detection, image segmentation, for all of these different problems, you will be selecting very different models. And for different problems, there are some state-of-the-art model out there which you can try. But I mean, the use case differs one by one. So you can't really select a model based on the results reported by others. So finally, and in the end, you still need to do many experiments to choose the one that gives the best result. Hope that answers the question.
I see. All right. Okay, so we have one last question in the interest of time. What are some of the challenges you met when developing AI applications?
Okay, thanks for the question. So I would say one very major question that I think majority of people developing AI is facing is the problem of data. Sometimes you lack the data you need. So for example, for forgery detection, you know, the data is extremely imbalanced. So majority of the document would be authentic document, and only a very few portion, a very small portion of the document are forged. So in this case, how do you handle this imbalanced data set is very important. So we also apply different techniques to solve such problems. And also, I think as we are in industry, we should always solve the problem in business. So we should take the stakeholders' requirement as the first place. Sometimes they will have very strict criteria. For example, you cannot hurt the good users at all, or you should catch the bad users as much as you can. And in such scenarios, for example, just now, the two scenarios I mentioned, the model developing strategy and the evaluation criteria would be very different. So in such scenarios, how do you select and how do you evaluate your model effectively and accurately to fulfill your stakeholders' requirement is also a very important topic.
I see. All right, thank you very much for sharing, Ms. Zhang. Okay, to close, we will now have a project presentation by our graduating students. Project leader Miko Lim Yu Hui and her team, Muhammad Is Irfan bin Amir, and Sean Danish Wong Wei Jie from the Diploma in Information Technology. Their project is titled Deployment of Temi Robot for Student Care Center.
Imagine having only a few teachers to handle a class of over 50 students in student care. Hi, my name is Irfan, and my team and I aim to revolutionize student care. We are revolutionizing student care through digitalization by using Temi. Temi will reduce the teacher's workload by taking over some of the administrative tasks. TEMI will also enable students to be more proactive in sharing their learning experiences. The app we have developed allows TEMI to act as an assistant teacher. We have used Android Java, Google Cloud Firestore, and the inbuilt TEMI LiDAR sensor to make this possible. Our project enables TEMI to assist in checking some of the written work, such as daily journals that used to be written on pen and paper. Instead, these entries will now be done digitally through TEMI. This is made possible through the app we have created using Android and Google Firestore. In addition, this customized application also allows students to input their learning and mood for the day. We've also used the LiDAR sensor to enable TEMI to move around the classroom, bringing it to life. TEMI is programmed to remember the classroom layout, and the sensor will ensure that it doesn't collide with any fixtures. Teachers can also use this innovative feature to deliver food, textbooks, and other materials to students without moving.
There are many key benefits to our solution. Firstly, we are able to create an engaging method for students to note down what they have learned, so TEMI becomes a digitalized handbook. Secondly, through the emoji board, students who need someone to speak to have their needs met before going home. Hence, parents do not have to worry about their children keeping things from them, especially since mental health issues are on the rise. These are the three keywords we associate with our application: resourceful, practical, and convenient. So, how does our app work? We'll now show you a quick demonstration of our application by running through the emoji board and IO functions in this student portal. This is followed by changing the life skills topic and showing how a teacher resolves issues in the teacher's portal.
In the student's portal, the student would find their name within the list, which can be sorted by levels, after which you are presented with 4 different tabs as seen here with a 5-minute timer per student. For this demo, we will be showing you the emoji board. Students are able to choose from the emojis to represent their mood for the day. Clicking on any of the emojis in the red column will then show an alert in the teacher's portal. Each unique emoji will then display a small message to show some encouragement to the students. Lastly, for the 3 remaining tabs here, students can input what they have learned and use it as a journal. Moving on to the teacher's portal, an updatable password log is created to ensure that students do not have access to it. Students who click on an emoji in the red column will be reflected in this Requires Attention tab. From here, the teacher and student will talk about this unresolved issue, and once it is resolved, the teacher will click on the name to show that their issue has been resolved. The remaining 3 tabs are available for teachers to view past records of students' entries and perform updates.
Some potential enhancement we would like to add in the future is to incorporate TEMI SDK into the robot. This will make our application more interactive by giving it more features. A second potential enhancement is to create a second app for administrators and teachers so that TEMI can assist with some of the tasks usually done by teachers. This will be helpful when there is manpower shortage. And lastly, after feedback from the live demo from visitors of the TP Open House 2020, another potential enhancement identified is to randomize the emoji solution and remove the colored row, as this will allow students to choose their mood freely. This is because the color might make students feel more reluctant to show their true feelings, as choosing the emoji in the red row indicates that a teacher will approach them later on. In conclusion, our project aims to tap into AI and incorporate it into the student care center by using customized application and TEMI. Teachers can work hand in hand with TEMI to facilitate teaching and learning. TEMI can also ease their workload by optimizing interactions with students. Through the features shared earlier, our group has customized the application to meet the students' care center needs and mission. Robots such as TEMI has not yet been implemented in any student care center, hence making TEMI an innovative pioneer that will enhance teachers and students' teaching and learning experience.
Alright, thank you Miko and team. We would like to thank all our speakers once again for taking time off their busy schedules to be with us today. Before you leave, I'd like to request our kind audience to kindly please provide feedback on today's webinar by scanning the QR code on the screen. We would greatly appreciate your feedback. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of the Temasek Polytechnic InfoTech Day 2022 webinar. We hope that you found the talks interesting and informative. We thank you all for joining us today, and we hope to see you again next year. Please do provide your valuable feedback and do check out the TP InfoTech Day 2022 microsite to view our student projects by scanning the QR codes. Thank you and have a great day ahead.